Hey guys, glad you stopped by. So tonight we're gonna do dinner, and I was going through some recipes online that I had saved, well, from online that I had saved, and I ran across Marry Me Chicken. Now, this sounds absolutely delicious, and it's supposed to be so good that if you make it, it'll get the other person to want to marry you right away because they'll think you're an amazing cook. So I thought, let's give it a try, although I'm already married. And you might be too, but if it's that good, I want to try it. It isn't really hard to make. Pretty much everything that's in it, you probably already have in your fridge. I know the only thing that I wouldn't have normally had, but I happen to have, was sun-dried tomatoes. Yeah, but it's got that, and the chicken has got a light flour coating on it, some salt, some pepper. You cook it up in some oil and some butter, and yeah, it's just got, you know, a handful of ingredients, but they're ingredients that are impactful. And this is a meal that doesn't take but about 30-35 minutes, and that's with prep work. If there is even a whole lot of prep work, because a lot of this stuff you can already buy pre-done up. But anyhow, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If this is your first video, I'm glad you stopped by. Hope you get something out of this video. Maybe check out some of my other ones. If you're returning or a new subscriber, thank you and welcome back. I am glad you stopped back by, hands down. That means I did something right the first time around, or how many ever times around you've been. You know, I like it when you guys come visit. It's just freaking awesome. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Comments always welcomed. I respond to all of them, and all I ever ask is you be polite. You don't have to agree with me or anybody else in the comments. Just think before you type. That's all I ask. So that being said, why don't we head on down here to the counter and we will get started making some Marry Me Chicken. Hold on for me 1 second. All right, we are down here at the counter, and I've got all my ingredients laid out. If you are new to my channel, you'll pretty much have seen my entire kitchen now. Right behind you is literally a small window and a door, and then my backyard. So what we need to make this with, you'll need at least one pan. Yeah, and it's just a one pan dish, and you will need something to dredge in, because we're going to dredge it in the flour, and I think that's about it. Plate to put the chicken on once we get it, because we're gonna shallow fry it basically, and once we shallow fry it, we'll take it out and set it to the side so we can make everything else, and then we'll put the chicken back in. But anyhow, so let's go ahead and get started. So I went ahead and I turned my skillet on. I've got it warming up. While it's warming up, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a quarter teaspoon of salt. I'm sorry, a half a teaspoon of salt. Go ahead and throw it on my hand, and I'm going to just sprinkle it on the chicken. Now, you could just as easily put this in the flour mix, but I think it would serve better on the chicken. And now that we got salt on both sides, we're going to go ahead and throw some pepper on there. Now, I could have done the one side salt and pepper, but why? That would have been too easy. So we go ahead and get this side on, and it's a quarter teaspoon of pepper. Okay, so I got the salt and pepper on the chicken. Let's talk about the chicken for a minute. So the recipe calls for chicken tenderloin. At least some of them did. Some of them called for chicken breast, which I had, and you want to cut it into tenderloin sized pieces, which means you're going to take the chicken, lay it flat, and if it's a thicker piece, because you don't want it to be more than a quarter inch thick, you're going to put your hand on top of that chicken breast, take your knife, and cut it sideways across, and then cut it in half. And you want about 3 large pieces of chicken. It's going to be about 1.5 to 1.75 pounds worth of chicken breasts, or 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of chicken tenderloins pre-cut, or you can use chicken tenders. You'll just have to cook them a little, or chicken tenders, chicken thighs, dark meat. You'll just have to cook it a little longer, and I would use boneless, skinless. But I went ahead and basically quartered my chicken breast up. I did it across this way and then cut it in half to give myself some chicken tenders. Now we have put our half a teaspoon of salt on there. We have put our quarter teaspoon of pepper on there, and you can use as much as you like to put on there. We're going to add more to taste in the dish. I can feel the heat coming on my stove or on my pan right now. So, and I'm using cast iron. You can use any kind of skillet you have. You don't have to necessarily use cast iron. All I have is cast iron if you're new, as far as pans go. And I have 2 sauce pots. One of them is also cast iron. So in my skillet, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and it's a good extra virgin olive oil. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. Ooh. And we're gonna let this melt, let the butter melt, and let the oil heat up. And while we're doing that, we're gonna just kind of occasionally give this a turn because we want it to all be even around the pan. We want to make sure this pan's completely coated. While that's happening, we're going to go ahead and take our chicken and we're just going to put it in 6 tablespoons of flour. You may need a little more, a little less, depending on the size of your chicken. But we're not doing, we're not making fried chicken. We just want to give it a nice coating. So we're going to go ahead and get these coated on both sides. Okay, so down to our last little bit of chicken here. And when you put them in the flour, you coat them on both sides. As you're picking them up, shake them off. You want to get the excess flour off of them. And then we're just putting them right here back on another pan or another plate. But what you don't want to do is stack them on top of each other. You could end up losing the flour that's on them. I mean, you may not, but you want to try not to. And I know if it'll all fit on that one plate, it should all fit on this plate pretty easy. All right, so we got our flour dredged on there. It's funny because I was kind of thinking that might not hold, or this may not be enough flour, but it was actually more than enough flour. We got our salt, pepper, flour on there. So we'll go ahead and get this out of the way. Oh, you can see it in the pan there or not. Let me bring you in a little bit. But our butter is melted, and we are well on our way. Sorry, I'll rinse this pan off, or this plate off real quick, or clean this plate off real quick, because we're going to reuse. I'm a firm believer in reuse, recycle. So our butter is melted and it's starting to brown, which is good. That's flavor. You just don't want it to burn. Browning is one thing. Burning is something completely different. So we'll give it a quick go around there. We know we're pretty hot. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our chicken and we're going to put it in the grease and we're going to cook each side for about 3 or 4 minutes. Oh, we're still not quite hot enough. Let me turn it up. Yeah, it said medium heat, but I think we want a medium high. But what we don't want to do is crowd this skillet. So I'm only going to do 4 pieces at a time. So, like I said, I'm only going to do 4 pieces at a time, and we want to cook them. I don't think I explained it very good. About 3 to 4 minutes each side is what we want, not just 3 to 4 minutes total. So here in about another minute and a half, I'll go ahead and flip them over and cook those, and then I'll continue on until I'm done cooking the chicken. Okay, so we got our chicken done, and what you're looking for is for it to just be a nice light golden brown, and which we are, and cooked all the way through. Yeah, that's important too. So the next thing we're gonna do is, this has got sun-dried tomatoes in it, so I'm gonna take a little bit of the oil, I'm gonna turn my heat down a little bit, and I'm just gonna take about a teaspoon or 2 of that oil and I'm gonna throw it in there. What this is gonna do is just make that flavor crazy, and it's gonna kick it up a notch basically. So then, now that I've got that in there, I've got 3 cloves of minced garlic, well, pressed garlic, and I'm gonna go ahead and get that in there, and I'm gonna start. Well, I can smell those tomatoes. They smell wonderful. That oil smells amazing, and I'm gonna just start running these till they're fragrant. It's gonna be about 30 seconds, and you want to keep it moving, or it's gonna burn. Okay, so we got our garlic is cooked. So now I'm gonna put a cup's worth of chicken stock in here, which is about a half a pint. If you're using homemade, you can use store-bought. I use homemade. I make my own, have for years. That way I know what's in it. And we're gonna let that go, just like such. And then we are going to add, yep, and we're deglazing, which we just did. Basically, we're getting all the stuff off the bottom. We're going to turn that down to a medium low. We are going to add 1 cup of heavy cream, and you want to try and use heavy cream. It makes it thick and rich. It'll hold those flavors better. I mean, if you're not into heavy cream, you could use coconut milk. You could use, oh goodness, what's the other one? Coconut milk. I mean, you could use a half and half, but I just don't know. So after we get our heavy cream in there in our chicken broth, I've got, that'll work, 1 teaspoon of red chili flakes in there. I've got a half a teaspoon of dried thyme and a half a teaspoon of oregano. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put this in here. And then I'm gonna bring this up to a simmer. One ingredient I forgot to add into this while we're bringing it up to a simmer is 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan. Because we're making kind of an Alfredo sauce. Yeah, it's just got a dried tomato flavor to it, and the other spices we put into it. Okay, we are starting to simmer, and our cheese is melted. Now, things you can serve this with. You can serve this over rice or noodles. I chose to do noodles, which is why all of a sudden you saw a red pot right there. And I'm gonna go ahead, we're doing bow tie noodles with this. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those in there real quick and get that salted before I forget. Now I'm just using 12 ounces of bow tie noodles. You can use any noodle you like, or rice for that matter. And we will bring that back up to a boil real quick. Add some salt. You always want to put salt in with your pasta. You salt the water. That's pretty much the only thing that salt does is give your pasta flavor. It helps enhance the flavor, but it also, along with a little bit of the pasta water, which I'll put some in here, helps marry the two together. So we've got our cheese melted. We are simmering. Now the last 2 things we need to do is I've got 1/3 cup of dried tomatoes, right? And they come in a jar in oil. There's the brand I'm using. It's the only brand they sell around here. But that's what you want. We're gonna put that in there, just like such. And then we're gonna take our chicken that we set to the side, and we're gonna put this back in here, bring it up to a simmer, and we're gonna let it simmer for just a couple minutes. And let all of this get to know each other even better, right? Our spices got to know the oils and the garlic and the heavy cream and chicken broth. Now we need to let the chicken and the tomatoes get to know each other and their new friends in the pan. Okay, we have accomplished the impossible. We got dinner made, and that really was like not 35 minutes total, start to finish, and that was with the noodles. So while the noodles were finishing up, this went for about another 3 or 4 minutes simmering. And then I took it off, sat it on a hot plate off to the side, so that way we could let it cool for about 5 minutes. That served 2 purposes. Kept us from melting our face when we served it, and it let the noodles finish cooking. So we got the noodles done. That has done its duty and due diligence. So now all we got to do is plate it up. I really think that just looks amazing. I don't care what anybody says. Here, let me get my hot pads out of the way. There, now it looks even more amazing because I don't have a bunch of stuff hanging out around it. Well, that shouldn't really matter. I am not one big for making it look perfect. It's a house. We're a family, and me and you are a family. It shouldn't have to look showroom new all the time, right? So, anyhow, we're gonna go ahead and get some noodles. Put them on there with a couple pieces of bread that I managed to whip up. Yeah, I love getting day old marked down Italian bread. I don't know why that is, but you can't beat 50 cents a loaf. Mostly because I don't have time to do it myself. you know, or the inclination. Bread is one thing I've never really had a desire to make. So then we'll go ahead and I'm going to steal a couple pieces of this chicken. This just looks so amazing. I am so excited to give this a try. And then I will get a fancy fork or a fancy spoon to get some of this sauce out of here. Oh, this is going to be so good. I wish I either had smell-o-vision for you guys or you guys were just here. That would be the better of the two. Really. If you guys could just come over and hang out with me for real, I would feed every last one of you. I promise. You know, I really do so like to cook for a crowd. That's, you know, that and baking are like my two favorite things in the world to do. I pretty much live in my kitchen. All right, there we are, my friends. That is our Marry Me chicken. So now all we have to do is I'm gonna bring the camera up so that way I can see your smiling face and you can unfortunately look at my ugly mug for just one moment, because we want to see how this tastes. I mean, well, I do at any rate. I'm sure you do too. We just got done cooking it together. There is that. Take my glasses off so you guys don't get that glare. The older I get, the worse the eyesight has become. It's amazing, but that's all right. So anyhow, as I said, I'm just serving with this with some bread. I've got some butter over at the table for us, and that way, yeah, we got something to sop up what little Alfredo sauce there, or Alfredo style sauce we'll have. That's pretty much what it is. I mean, Alfredo sauce is really nothing more than cream and sorry, I got set it on the table or on the counter. I got some chicken that won't cooperate. All right, so let's give this a shot. We'll get some bow tie pasta on there with some tomato and a piece of chicken, and I'm gonna take what to me looks like a normal bite, but on camera I'm learning it looks huge. That's really good. Those sun-dried tomatoes with the oregano, and then so the peppers, the birdseed, the crushed red peppers, chili peppers. I thought with that amount was going to make it maybe a little too spicy. It actually gives it a nice balance. Now you adjust it to what you like. That is really good. And there at the end, when you do the final simmer, you want to taste the sauce. That's when you would add more salt and pepper to taste that you would want. I don't add any more salt to my dishes if I don't have to. I just really have gotten in the habit of eating minimal salt, so I didn't add any. But if you wanted to salt and pepper to taste, that would have been the time to do it. That way, as it sits and cools and simmers, it'll be able to add that to it. Give this a try. You will definitely like this. Me and Chris were talking, and this dish, where it came to be, because I told her, I said, you know, she thought that a red pepper, a roasted red pepper like you would buy like the sun-dried tomatoes, would be really good in this. And I said, no ma'am, this dish is supposed to be so good that you'll want to marry me after the first bite. And even though we've been married for 22 years. And she said, no, I think it's supposed to be the other way around. And she is right. The story from this is the woman that created this dish, she realized that the way to a man's heart was through his stomach. So the man that became her husband asked her to marry him, asked him to marry her after he had had the first bite of this dish that she had made for him. And that's how it got the name. So, yeah, but I cooked it for Chris. Maybe she'll marry me. Shoot. All right, well, anyhow, give this a try. You're not going to be disappointed. It really is a very good dish. I'm quite impressed. I've been meaning to make it for a while now and just hadn't. If you do, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think, or if you've already made it, or if you have a variation thereof. I would like to know. I'd like to hear. I love to talk about stuff. Tomorrow for dessert, I'm not real sure what we're doing yet. I am torn by several different cakes. None of them being the cheesecake that I mentioned last week, the bacon maple syrup cheesecake. I am still working on that because I am trying to figure out what would be the perfect crust for said cheesecake. If you have any ideas and you think that sounds good, because I think the cheesecake sounds delicious, leave me a comment down below. I've been racking my brain on a few things, but it would be nice to be able to hear an outside opinion or two. But we're gonna do a cake of some sort. I just don't know what yet. I had found a candy bar cake that I can just go hog wild and make my own, all kinds of stuff. But anyhow, till tomorrow for dessert, give this a try. And tomorrow I will see you for a cake of some sort. But until then, I love you. I love you very much. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Tell somebody else that you love them and love them very much. They may need to hear it. It's going to make them smile and feel good either way it goes. It's going to make you smile and feel good to tell them. And if you make them some of this Marry Me chicken, you're going to at least have conversation, maybe more depending on who you feed it to. And this dish made enough that you could feed, that one you're trying to woo, so to speak, the whole family, if you already have that one that you have wooed or wooed you. Maybe even the neighbors, or the guy that's just walking down the street that lives 5 houses down. Either way, this is a good conversation piece and, could lead to a whole new friendship. So till tomorrow for dessert of cake of some kind, I love you and I'll see you then. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.